Hey everyone, and welcome to another stream. Hello. I'm gonna just quickly bring the chat in. How's everyone doing? Can you hear me well? Can everyone hear me well? And let's quickly fix the commands as well. So we have today working on the Angular Cookbooks header component consistent throughout the app. Okay, I think that's good. I'm gonna also open the screen as well. Hope you're doing. Hope everyone is doing well today. Let's bring the chat and let's bring this guy as well. Okay, awesome. I think looks nice so far. There we go. Awesome. So what I want to do today is to work on the Angular Cookbook second edition. It looks like a lot of people have bought the book, and I can see about 12 forks. So I'm hoping we have some clones. It's sad that we can't really see the clones, but we can see only the forks, how many people have forked it. But I think still that's fine. It's not too bad. Let's see. So my idea was to make the whole UI consistent across all the applications, and I also want to update Open Visual Studio. I should be logged in as well. But I also wanted to just make sure that all the UI looks the same. We have the same header across all the applications, and for that we need to do some customization. So we'll see where that lands. So let's see git branch, and feel free to ask any questions in the chat. Yeah, I think this was the one, refactor header. This is the one that I was working at. Let's see if we can see the changes. So if I go here, let's see if I have any pull requests created for this refactor. No, we don't have it. Let's create a pull request and see if I can find it. Into control flow recipe. No, not that one. Hey, Mr. Mad, how's it going? How are you doing? So, let's see. Let's see if I have the right one. Checkout refactor header. Checkout. Checkout. Status. Git log. So refactor header is one ahead. So I updated the CodewithAhsan package. So let's move there. So we have the package written, but I need to, let me show you what I want to do. So if I go to serving any app, npm run serve, say ngcc inputs outputs, I'm going to show you what I'm trying to do. We'll see. How's everyone doing? How's everyone doing on Facebook? Let's see. Final apps chapter 1. Oh, it's cc input output. I removed ng from basically all the applications. ngcc signals. This could be cc signals, by the way, but it's fine. Let's see. Hanif Ahmed Khan. Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. How are you doing, Hanif? Are you good? Are you good, my friend? I'm gonna change my headphones batteries as well. So this one, it goes when this runs out, I have to take this away, and then I need to take this guy out, and this goes into the charging deck, and then I can put this back. Almost feels like a cyborg. There we go. and then this goes right back in. Aha. So it's pretty sneaky, so you don't really see those, or you don't see the difference. Okay, so this is what I have right now. What I want to do is, this is hard coded. So there is a div with a class toolbar. We have the image. We have some other elements like the notification bell. But what I want to do is, I want to make this whole thing, or this is, I've created already a component that I'm using in some of the recipes. So I want to replace, I have about 80 projects, 80 projects, and I want to change all of them using an automation command. And that is what I'm trying to do today. So hopefully we'll be able to do it. If not, meh, it's fine. So if I go to this source file, the app component HTML, this is the element. So this is all that I need to replace. So this is one component, and I want to change it to use another component that I have in my package, and that exists right now in CodewithAhsan. So if I go to packages and GCB UI, I should have it in header right here. So let's see. So this is the component that I already have. So I need to change change that to this somehow, and the usage to this. So if we have a look at ng, let's see if I can find the component name. So this should be called ngcbui header. So ngcbui header. Assalamu alaikum. ng, I'm gonna be right back. Give me 1 second. Hey everyone, sorry, I needed to see my son. Let's see. Hanif says, not well because yesterday I received an email from favor account that flagged by location consistencies. Now I don't know what to do. I think you can reach out to the customer care and you can explain what happened. Usually the customer care helps out. So I wouldn't be too worried about it, to be honest. Shabazz says, Assalamu alaikum Ahsan bhai, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you doing, Shabazz? All good? Acha. Now what we need to do is we need to basically replace those components with these two things. We need to replace all the instances of the header component in within all the files to to this component. So that's what we are going to do. We might use a lot of AI today. By the way, what do you think of latest new features in Angular 17.2 input signals, model input, signal queries? Personally, like them a lot, but I don't use them now. Yeah, have you seen this new video that I published about the Angular balloon popping game? This one. I already used the signal queries in this one. I'm gonna share in the chat. But yeah, I think it's really good. The model one seems really nice as well. It's something that I can see myself using for a lot of things. So I really like it. And I mean, signal inputs, of course, I already created a video on that as well. Signal inputs. I think this was 22 January. So it's, yeah, about a month. But yeah, absolutely. I think the new features are really, really good. So I'm starting to adopt that as soon as possible. For example, you can see already I'm using the new control flow. We are already using, for example, signals in this one. So filter tasks is essentially a computed signal. So I've already started using these in my apps, primarily to see, if I can find anything that they are not suitable for. So I can talk about that as well. But in general, they seem really nice. Okay, so signals, ngcc signals is one of the apps that seems nice. So if I go ahead and say npm run serve ngcc signals, that has the new logo. So we can start using the new logo just by replacing all the instances of the regular HTML header with this one. And I think that is what we want to do. Oh, signals still doesn't use the new logo. That's not good. But it's using the ngcb UI header, right? And I think probably because this is not built, that could be the case. So if I look at the header component, are we using the new Angular logo or the old one? I think we're using the new. No, we have the ng logo component right here, but we're not really using it. So maybe we should use the ng logo component right here. So let's do this, and then we can say ng, or let's quickly use that inside the header by first importing that. So we have common module, and here, and I don't have my caps lock set as escape, so this is going to be interesting. And let's say logo component, and we can save that, and here we can replace them quickly inside the. That's not good. I'm importing ng logo component into ng logo component. It's not good at all. And then we can go to our header component. Here is where we can use ng logo component, and then we can use it right here instead of all of this. So we can say ng logo and save. Now I think once we build it, we should be good. So let's go to CodewithAhsan and npm run build. And do you think it's time to use them in real projects, or we have to wait for them to become stable? I mean, if you're talking about taking them to production, you have to wait. I don't think it's wise to use anything in production that's not stable. But when something is in developer preview, it doesn't mean it's not stable. It is stable. It is ready to test out, but things can change. So you can start using them in production if you want, but be aware that it's not something that you can just implement and forget. You need to come back to that later. You need to upgrade when they have said that, okay, this is now finalized from our side. So I think that is something that you should keep in mind when working with something that's in developer preview, for example. And okay, so let's quickly see. So we added that. Now we can run the npm run serve ngcc signals. So let's see. I'm hoping that quickly we are able to do something quickly. Okay, so this does use is still the old logo, or this is pg da 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 da. I think that's the one. And if I go to the ngcb UI, is it still using the same one? No, I don't think it's the same one. But why is it showing is still the previous one though? That's not good. Maybe I was looking at the wrong file. If I look at the search for this one, is it, I saw cc signals. Oh, but this is in the final, that's why. So final, I think that's why we should be seeing it in the final one. By using multiple libraries in the project affect performance or not? I use in prime and and material one of my project. Yeah, that's a tough one. So using multiple libraries in a single project can lead to a lot of inconsistencies when it comes to css, for one, because it, even if you're using, and it also depends on the library. So if you're using just one thing from a huge library but you are including the whole css, then that's not good. Similarly, if you are importing two different libraries, it is quite common, for example, to have a button class in both of them. So unless the libraries are handling this in the correct way, it's going to be a problem for you to maintain all of that. And that has been my experience so far as well. So I usually try to avoid multiple libraries in a single project as much as possible. But if you have a certain requirement to do so, then you have to take care of the bundle size. You also have to take care of the css bundle size and the javascript bundle size both. So it's not a practice that is encouraged by a lot of senior developers or architects, if you understand what I mean. So yeah. Okay, so what is wrong? If I go to final apps cc signal source app, this is using right now the header, right? Component communication using signals. But if I look at this guy, this is an image which is coming from the header component, and the header component now doesn't use it. So I'm really confused of what's happening. Really confused. So let's try to build the CodewithAhsan library again. Npm run. Oh, because I did not build the library, that's why. Okay, because I think the build command runs the package and not the library. So I need to actually run build all. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, my mistake. That's why I'm like, okay, why does this not reflect the changes? Now it should. Not found in the schema. What happened to this one? Oh, I think I fixed that last time. I think I fixed that. Let's see, npm or npx or nx migrate run migrations. Is this from CodewithAhsan? Yes, it is. I think I fixed that, to be honest. And this was from the update in 16. Oh, we'll see. We'll see. Okay. So we need to delete this guy from here and remove this guy since it's causing us to since it's causing the package to fail and the build to not execute well. We'll see. This seems to be fine so far. And let me completely see if I update it to the right version. I thought this was updated, but it seems like it was not. But let's see. The package JSON, I'm pretty sure I updated this to 17. Yeah, there you go. Well, let's see. I thought I updated this, but maybe I updated this in my laptop and not. Cool. Workspace is up to date. That's good. And then we can just say, so in that case, we have now built it. Now let's run the signal final. We should be able to see the new logo, but that's a good start then. There you go. So you can see now we have the header, but it doesn't look anything like this. So we need to fix that as well to align this well. So I think we can go to CBUI header and GGCZ signals, but that's just TypeScript failing or Angular language service failing. But what I need to do is, if I look at this component right here, it has a margin left and margin right of how many pixels? 16 pixels, right? So it has MX4. This one does not have it. So let's quickly double check if MX4 works on this one. So if I go and say margin inline 16 pixels, let's compare this. Yeah, I think it's fair enough. But there's also something else that's coming in. I don't know what. Maybe the size of the icon, because you can see here we have a bit of spacing on left and right. If I go here, you can see it's not the same. So that's why it looks a bit weird. If this was scaled a bit, or we had a padding of, I don't know, 4 pixel, then it would start looking quite same. Yeah. Or 4 pixel or 3 pixel. I'm not really sure. Maybe 3 pixel. Yeah, quite close, but not still. So if I mouse over NGCBI logo, this is how it looks. If I go here, now this one is updated as well. Sad. Okay, but I think then I'm gonna just go with that. So we need to go to the header component, and here we need to give this the class of mx4, which is 16 pixel. We can also give a px of 1 as well, like 4 pixel. I think that's fair. So we need to build this again. Npm run build all. Let's quickly build that. And that should. Now we still have the same problem. Why do we have the same problem? The project.json. I don't know why. Don't know why we have that. Well, for some reason that NX migration is not doing well. Okay, so we got that running. Now let's quickly rerun the project and see if this fixes our styles. We'll see in a minute. Do, 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 do. Shouldn't this have fixed the ID, or do we have the classes but they don't apply? Ah, we do have the classes but they don't really apply. Is it because we don't have a display block on this? No. Okay, so okay. So then we are not really using I'm thinking now. We do have our global styles that we push, right? We could add here, but I don't think that should happen. So I think we could rather just style inside. So here we have the toolbar, and then we have ngcb we ngcb ui ng logo. This should apply block, or we can just say or even display block is, or display inline block margin inline should be 16 pixel, and padding inline should be 4 pixel. No, 2 pixel. No, let's do 2 pixel. Okay, let's build and run this again. Shahbaz is asking a question. I created a CRM system for my office and it was completely on simple Angular component, not lazy loading, and use only Bootstrap. Is running super fast. And I created a dental portal project there. Use lazy loading multiple libraries, running very slow. A lazy loading module take 3 to 4 seconds to load. Any advice for lazy loading module to load fast? Preloading for that. So first of all, the CRM that, I mean, I'm not sure how you're checking that if the thing is running fast or slow. If you have a fast internet, then even the non-lazy loaded module is still would load fast. If you have a slow internet, then even the lazy loaded modules will be loaded slow. So I'm not really sure how you're testing it. What is your testing criteria? So first of all, in order to test something, you need to test them on the same environment. So on the same network, try to run, first of all, try to see what is the build size. For example, these build chunks, check what is the vendor.js, how big is the main.js file. For example, you can see the main.js here is pretty small, it's 32 KB. I mean, it could go even smaller, but this should be the main one, should be really, really, really small. Then the vendor should also be very small as well. So the main, when you load it, how much JavaScript it takes, and then also when you load it, you can check in the network tabs. If you refresh, you can see what is the overall bundle size that you get here. So 6.4 MB of resources, as you can see right here. I'm gonna turn on my mouse highlight so you can see. So here you can see that we have 6.4 megabytes of resources, but if I just go and say JavaScript, then it's 3.2 megabytes of resources, which is essentially all of what is loaded. So the vendor that is right here, this is about 3.2 megabytes. So if I can do this, so here, I don't know why it says 236 bytes. No, I think something is not really telling it. So 3.2 megabyte is the overall size of what we are getting here. So yeah, you need to check this, and on the same internet, then you'll know how your application is performing. But for the lazily loaded modules, even if you have lazy loading but you're using a module that is really huge, and I think you can get, I mean, I mentioned this in my book as well, so get the Angular Cookbook and go to performance optimization section and you'll find those. But for example, if you're loading something really, really huge, for example, if you have your main bundle, right, and then you have your lazily loaded bundle, so let's say lazy module 1. If your main bundle is 2.3 kilobyte, for example, and your lazy module is, let's say, 3.2 kilobyte itself, for example, whatever it contains. But your lazy module is also using a shared module, which I think I'm 99% sure that you're using a shared module. And this shared module usually contains things like, I don't know, material components or material imports or bootstrap components, etc. If this guy, the shared module that you have, if this becomes 4.2 megabytes, then your lazy module becomes 4.2 plus 3.2 KB, if that makes sense. So whenever you go to a, let's say, you about page or profile page or admin page, but if it's using the same shared module, then it doesn't matter if you load this lazily or not, because as soon as you go to this page and this module is loaded, it's going to have to load the shared module because you're using the shared module inside the lazy module. So the whole bundle size will be calculated on loading, and I think that's why it's super slow. So what you need to do is you need to break this shared module down into a smaller module or into multiple smaller modules and only load a very optimized shared module chunk to lazy module. For example, distribute into 3 different modules: shared module 1, shared module 2, shared module 3. I'll call it shared module for lazy module, for example. But anything that is going to the lazy module should only include the things that this module is going to use. Anything that is not supposed to be used should not be included or should not be imported into this, or there shouldn't be a module imported to lazy module that has something that this doesn't use, if that makes sense. So as if you optimize this guy right here, then you can optimize the whole lazy loading. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Sorry for this question. I'm gonna stop this. So sorry for this weird question. It's really Angular is harder than React because I started learning it and it seems to me easier than React, or am I dreaming? Abdurrahim says Angular is not hard. Angular has more things to learn than React, because Angular is not a tiny library. React is a really tiny library. You want to create a component, you go and create a component, and that's it. But then as soon as you need anything else, you need animations, you need HTTP calls, you need to do interceptors, you need to make it, API calls, already said that. You need to do state management. Whenever you go to something that requires a bit more than a really tiny application in React, then you start to learn other things as well. It's same with Angular. So let's actually try to get rid of this myth, to be honest. So let's say we're talking about, here we have, for example, we have Angular and we have React. Let's do a side-by-side comparison. So if you need to create, let's say, a component, then what you need to do in React is you need to run create React app or something like that, and then you create a file yourself, and then you import that component. Or I think when you create your app component, you first need to create another component, and then you need to understand how that works as well. But let's say this is the minimal things that you need to do. When it comes to Angular and you need to create a component, you run ng-new to create a file, and the app component is there, right? Let's say this is not true. So we have the app.js or app.tsx right there, right? So a component is there. The app.component.ts is there when we talk about Angular. Now, if you want to add any styles to this, let's say a component with the styles. This is what we are trying to do. Then what you need to do, with the app component TS, you already get the app component CSS. In here, now you need to create a CSS file, import it into app.js, app.tsx. That's what we have, right? Now, when you create a component with styles, you also need to figure out how to do state management, right? How to render something into the component. So let's go with a comparison of rendering, rendering a variable in component. If we talk about this, then what you need to do is create a variable in the TS file and use the variable in the HTML file. And that is the reality. Both steps, you don't need to do anything else. Now, when you try to do the same thing, rendering a variable in the component, and you also want to be able to update that, right? Then you need to learn the use state hook. And now you need to understand what are hooks. So that's one of the things that you need to do. Now let's talk about now if you need to make an API call. So let's make an API call in React. So here questions arise, where do I put the API call? That's the first question. Here you also need to use what do I use to make the API call. Now, is it Axios? Is it fetch? XHR? What do we use? So those are the questions that you're going to start having. Most of the times you use Axios or something else for that. At this point, you also start thinking, should I use Redux for state management? But we are going to go to state management later on. So let's stick with the API calls. When you talk about API calls in Angular, where do you put the API calls? API calls go in Angular services. So you need to know what services are. That means there's a place. You don't have the question, where do I put the API calls? We already have the HTTP client service. So we already have the HTTP client service that you can use for the HTTP calls. So no need to install anything here. Let's move forward. We now have state management. So state management in React. What do I use? Now you need to either use state for local, use reducer for reducers, use context maybe to use the context API. No? Then you might want to use Redux. If you hate Redux or you know people who hate Redux and they're influencing you, then you might be looking at something like Zustand. So many choices. When you try to do the state management in Angular, you have a few choices. You don't need anything for local variables. As I mentioned before, if you just want to render a variable in a component, you can just create the variable in the TypeScript file, render it in the HTML file. If you want to do that in React, you need to use state hook. If you talk about state management, you can just use the regular variables. So regular variables that we have, or you can simply say class properties in Angular, or use observables. These are the two things that come out of the box from Angular. So you don't need to import anything else. You don't need to install another package. So far with all of this that we have mentioned in Angular, you don't need to install even one single package. Everything is built in. Angular is an ecosystem, right? So state management, we already talked about it. So you can observables. If you wanted to go forward, you could also go and use different things. You could use ngrx, which is essentially using the third party library. So I'm going to put that into orange, for example. And I'm not sure if I can do partial color. No, I can't. Otherwise I would have. But here you have some things that are partial or third party libraries, so to say. So you have ngrx, you also have, and also, sorry, one thing that I forgot. For state management, you can also use signals, which is now built into in Angular. You can also do that in here, signals, which might be Preact signals, React, if I remember the package correctly. So you can install a third-party library. So far, you don't have to install anything in Angular. Now, if I try to go forward with testing, unit tests, nothing comes out of the box for React. I'm not sure if create React app has jest in it. Create React app jest. Running tests. I think now it does have jest. Yeah, so now it has jest. Previously it did not have. So now you can run create a React app with jest. Okay, so that's good. So by default, you can run unit tests in Angular and React both. So unit tests, and here you have, go white. You have jest. Here, you can also use jest. You can also use karma with Jasmine. And these are also something that you don't need to install yourself. One of the biggest benefits of Angular that React doesn't have is a CLI. So a CLI is the command line interface that you can use to do a bunch of things. You can generate components, services, pipes, guards, interceptors, directives. There's so many things that you can use just the CLI to generate, and I can just run them into my command palette here, and everything would start working. So I can go ahead and say, for example, npx. Here I'm using nx, but you can use anything. So nxg component or component here, and then I can give this a directory where to go. For example, apps. I think was it apps? Start apps chapter 01. I don't know. ngcc signals source app, and I can give this the folder, and it will automatically create the component for me. And if I run dry run, I can also run this command and see what happens without actually doing anything. So if I do CodewithAhsan right here, it's going to tell me, okay, I can try to create a component there. Right now I need to be inside the folder to do that. So if I do this, then I have to remove the start from here, and then it would allow me to create. For example, I can say Angular component, generating Angular component as provided, and here you can see I have all the files created. So if I need to create a component, get started, do that automatically, I have the CLI to help me with. So there are a lot of things that is there. So here, when you ask these questions on if Angular is harder to learn than React, then the first thing that we need to analyze is that the scope of React itself is really, really small compared to the things to learn in Angular. But it's also, when you're learning those things, then you don't need to do a lot of searching or googling on how do I do this, how do I do that. And that also helps when you switch teams. So if you go to a new team, you're going to see the exact same practices. Most of the times you're going to see that the class properties are being used the same. You're not going to find things in like React, for example. If I've seen even in one team, some of the components are using use context, some of the components are using use state, some of the components are using use reducer, even in the same team, which is bizarre for me. So creating a standard in an Angular team and an Angular project has seemed to me much more easier in my past 10 years of working with Angular and past 6 to 7 years of working with React. So yeah, it takes a bit more time to learn Angular, but that's because Angular has a lot of features that you get out of the box to build something. So once you get good with Angular, you can actually create small to medium applications in an instant. You don't need to search a lot. That's the beauty of it. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that helps. Shabazz says, thank you so much. This information is not available on the internet. Okay, no problem. Happy to help. Thank you so much. Now everything is clear. Your channel deserves more followers because of knowledge you share. You grows and grows on. I hope that too. But it really depends on the people. So if you start sharing my content, if you start sharing the videos, of course, if you start talking about this channel, if you start, letting other people know that this channel exists, that's what grows it. Not automatically. There's no magic happening that will grow it. So it's basically the audience and the people who can make things grow. Alrighty. So how about we actually look into what we were supposed to do? We took a sidetrack. I'm gonna quickly go here. Let's see. I do remember there was something that I created. Give me 1 second. Yes. So we need to create a whole new generator. And then we need to, I'm not sure if we need to generate, if we need to implement the generator or implement the executor, but we will see. Shrildak, hey, how's it going? Welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome. We just finished a rant of Angular versus React. Hey. Shabazz says, nowadays I'm working on a UPS system with Angular 17. It's modular based project, but all of my components are standalone with Nest.js for my office. I had so many questions, but you cleared everything in my previous question. Thanks a lot. Bye. No problem at all. I hope this was helpful. So yeah, standalone components will make everything easier. The idea is you have to have as least dependencies as possible when you load a component. If you're adding a lot of things, this is a very common problem with a lot of Angular projects, having a shared module which is so huge that all the lazy modules start using the same. So if all the lazy modules just like this are starting to import the same shared module, that means every lazy loaded module is a heavy module because everyone is using this 4.2 megabytes. So it doesn't really make sense even to consider this optimized. So you need to break these into smaller modules and then import them. And the best way to do is called something barrel files. So what you can do is that you can have a shared module, even if you have the shared module, but when you have, for example, I would suggest using no modules at all. So standalone components, standalone directives, services, pipes, whatever, no module. But in your barrel files, you can actually create some files. For example, you can say a public API. So public API.ts, or you can have multiple public APIs. For example, you can say something like for lazy module 1.ts. And in this file, you can have specifically exported modules. So you can say export star from, I don't know, button.component. If you do this, and if you have multiple of these, for example, just 3 of them, let's say, and let's say you have 20 different components in the whole folder structure, but you're exporting only 3, then when this module loads it, it will only get 3. It will not get 20 components. And this is a form of using something called barrel files that just define what am I exporting from this whole domain or this module, and then what is being accepted in the other ones. So instead of loading a whole module or an index file that exports everything, you can have multiple TypeScript files, barrel files that export just a piece of chunk, and you can define which module this is for. So this is sort of a domain slash architecture configuration that you might have to do, but this will help reducing the load. So do not import a file that has so many modules and you're using only two of them. That will reduce the overall size. So I hope that makes sense. Okay, so how do we create a new NX generator? So we need to actually go and create an NX generator, NX workspace generator, workspace generators. So in here, NX13, is this the latest one? Because what I want to do is I want to be able to, the idea for us right now is to change this, what do you call it, the header that we have into something that we can reuse across different pages. So if I can quickly do this, give me 1 second. So if I see NX plugin is what I'm looking at. Plugin. Here. Create a generator for an NX plugin. This is what I'm talking about. So we can generate a generator, and then we can generate libs my plugin, generator my generator, blah, 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 blah. Name and directory format. I think that's good. So let's quickly go to our code here. I'm going to zoom out a bit. It seems too big for me. Okay. So what I want to do is in my whole package where we have ng cookbook recipe, I want to create a generator right here. So let's go to cd. We are already inside here. So we can do npx nxg plugin generator. But I think we should also just install the NX 17 in the package. But do we have that right here? I think we should have it. What was the version of NX that we had here? 17.1.1. Let's install that. So we can do something like npm install -g nx at 17.1.1. I don't want to go to the latest one so at the moment because I know it will start breaking stuff, so I don't want to do that. So we are still going to be at 17. Now I can run the command that I just copied. So nx generate plugin generator, and we are going to provide the generator name. So I think we can call this maybe unified toolbar or refactor toolbar, and we can use dry run. So this is not really changing anything. And then we can call this the project, but I'm pretty sure it will say give me a directory instead of a project. And the project is ng cookbook recipe. So let's see if it is available. So as provider generator.ts, but derived is what I'm looking for. So packages, ng cookbook recipe, source generators, refactor toolbar. Packages, source generators, exactly, that's where I want this to be. Okay, so here we should have now a new generator. Where's my new generator? Oh, because I ran dry run, sorry. So this should also update package.json and generators and all these files. Okay, so let's run this now without the dry run. Clear. So I'm gonna run this now without the dry run. And let's create the generator. Okay, so now I should have my generators having ng cookbook recipe, but refactor toolbar as well. Now what I want to do is I want to run this generator in a way that it updates my whole toolbar in my workspace. So how do we do that? Let's see the generator right now. So if I go to my generator.ts, this is what we have. So what we do here is we go to project root libs option name, da 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 da, and then it goes to project rows. Project type is library, but the project type is not library. We we want to have project type application, and the project root should be actually apps. So if I look at my apps right now, so it's app, then we have the folder name and the other stuff, but we'll copy some stuff from the other generator. So if I go to my other generator, which should be ng cookbook recipe, I'm going to actually copy paste a lot of things from here. So here, yeah, so we get the recipe name, the file name, then we get the chapter name, project directory, both of them. I'm thinking, what do we need to do in here? Because it was so long when I implemented this. It's like 1 year ago when I actually implemented this. Ta, 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 ta. I basically need to do almost the same thing that I do here, but just changing the header is what I need to do. So I'm thinking if I should copy everything or just okay, let's see. So we got normalized schema. So what would we need to do when we run the refactor toolbar? I think this should go inside the tree and get, first of all, let's see. From my previous project, we had format files, generate files. Then we also had read workspace configuration. So do we have anything there? Read work, no. Workspace layout, and we have workspace root. What does this return us? This returns us, well, it takes the tree and then, no, it returns the apps directory, the libs directory, and is standalone as default. Okay, so if I start saying layout equals, then we should have get workspace layout, and this also requires a tree, and we also have the tree, whoopsie, and we have the tree, not three but tree. So the tree is right here, and this guy then just has the apps directory, libs directory, and so here, and my camera just died, so let's see. So let's see if here I can just say layout dot apps directory and then the options name. Then what we want to do is we want to have the project configuration. So I'm thinking, because it's quite a long time since I did that, and if I had to go soon, then we'll continue this a bit later. I'm gonna change my camera's battery. Give me 1 second. Okay. So let's see. I'm thinking the way to do this, because we need to execute something, but we also need to I'm not sure if I should just write one simple Node.js script that just goes and replace everything, or if I should do it via the refactor toolbar, because this is not gonna live forever. This is a one-time thing. I need to just do it once, and then I don't really need to do this again. So I might just create a simple script that goes into all the app.component.html and then just change that. So you tell me, how should we do this? Should we go towards the NX way, or should I just write a simple Node.js script? And I think if I just need to do this one time, I don't even need to do it myself. I could basically look at an AI tool to generate that. But it would still be fun to look at, and we can fix that as we go. Mm-hmm. Looking at the documentation as well. Interesting. So then we are talking about running a whole migration. How can I? Let's see. Let's see if I can find it. So write NX migration. Okay. So NX generate plugin migration change executor name, package version, project description change. Okay. So here we have the generator code, right? Okay. Interesting. When your plugin is being used by other developers, it's helpful to provide migration generators to automatically update configuration file when your plugin makes a breaking change. A migration generator is normally generated that triggered when developer runs nx migrate command. Okay, so then I did the wrong thing. Okay, let me see if I can fix that then. So we had the header component. Let's keep these changes and the SCSS, but then I would have to remove the rest of the stuff. Let's keep this one as well. Now header component.ts, that one as well. Generators.json. I can remove all of these. Hey Alper, how's it going? So then I should rather run the migration one. So nx generate, nx plugin migration. I think that's the better way of doing this then. So generate migration. We call this replace the toolbar, right? And then we can say for this example, we'll create a new migration generator that updates the repo to new executor name instead of old executor name in their targets. This migration will be applied when they run nx migrate to move up past 2.0.1 of our plugin. What is the version of the plugin that I'm using right now? See, cookbook recipe, and the package JSON is 0.0.1. So we'll do it package version 0.0.2. 0.0.2, and the project is going to be plugin name. So the project that we have is ng cookbook recipe, and the description is going to be updates the toolbar in the apps to use the new header component. So this is essentially what we want to do. Let's run the dry run and see if this works. The option project is deprecated. Provide the directory option instead and use as provided format. The project will be determined. Okay. So then we can say simply directory equals apps, no, packages ng cookbook recipe source generators, src generators. I think that's the one. So replace the toolbar. We'll call it it's going inside migrations and not generators. Okay, so this is what we want to do. We'll see. Alper says, sir, my computer has virus. Ooh, okay. You should probably get an antivirus then. Replace app toolbar. So if I run this now, okay, so this is the one that I'm going to use. Packages, recipe, source migration, replace app toolbar, replace app toolbar. Okay, so that's the one we are going to use. So let's remove the dry run and run this. Derived. There we go. So it generated a migrations and replaced the toolbar. And this is the update that we then need to do. That's good. So then it adds a migration JSON, which is this one, replace the toolbar. That's cool, version 0.0.2. And then we have description, CLI, NX, and the change executor name. This is the implementation. So this is the executor. Okay, awesome. Now we can write the generator code to do this, hopefully. So if I go to here, we have the tree from there, but then we also have the get projects. How can we test the migrations though? We have the spec, but we'll see. So in this one, we do have the get projects and update project configuration. And we have the tree here that we can pass. So we get the projects, okay, name of the projects, and each project we are going to change the old executor to a new executor. So here we can do that. But we want to update the files as well. For each project. The configuration only gets the path for those, right? So if I try to run this and look at the spec, applibs, okay, let's see. I'm hating the Vim app wibs. The layout is applibs. Aha, okay. But where does this come from? Testing details. Okay, got you. Okay, so if I start running this one, and this is running via should run successfully. Okay, so we did update the tree. Okay. Okay, so we created the. All right, I think I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go and continue this one later on. I will. Oh, my kid is calling me. So thank you everyone who has joined today. I'm gonna continue this in the next stream. I'll announce it when the time comes. But thank you who has joined. the goal for us is gonna be to finish this in the next stream. So I'll see you later. Thank you.